And you are live.
Thank you. If I could get approval of our previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have three pieces coming before us this morning. The first one is ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of materials and services needed by the various divisions and departments of the city for a period of time not to exceed 5 years, approving the specifications therefore, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Actually, Chairwoman Mosley and members of the committee, I'm going to go ahead and speak on
Okay.
this one.
Okay, Shelley.
Yes, good to see you all and Happy New Year. First off, I wanted to just start before I touch on this piece a little bit and introduce to you all Luba Kramer. Luba is our new purchasing agent. She's on the call with us here today. She joined the city of Akron in October of last year. She comes to us with a varied background of public and private procurement experience, and she most recently worked at the University of Akron for the last 14 years. And we were able to woo her over to our team. So we are so excited to have her join our team as we continue to embark on continued changes surrounding our purchasing division and being more inclusive and diverse in our spend. So just wanted to go ahead and acknowledge her that she's on the call. And if you guys have any questions for her, we can touch on those. But before you, this piece is the annual bid ordinance. This ordinance allows the city of Akron purchasing agent to routinely bid the material and supplies on this list that is needed by various departments for routine operation of city services. So anything that's related to a special project or which is outside of this list will be brought to council in separate legislation. This piece just allows us to bid all of the routine stuff that we need to continue our routine operations and not have to bring a ton of separate legislation pieces to you every time that we want to bid something out that is needed, just to keep us going in our normal operations. So just for your information, this year we started using an electronic bidding software titled Bonfire. This allows us to electronically invite vendors to bid, including minority vendors, which Sheena has been networking with and providing us, and linking us with those vendors. We also post all opportunities on our public portal through Bonfire, and we send all opportunities to the Akron Urban League for them to send out to their businesses that they network with. And we post all opportunities in the Greater Akron Chamber Inclusion Marketplace. So these are all items that we're going to bid throughout the year. We're going to make sure that we are engaging the minority and women-owned business community. We have seen a massive growth in the amount of minority and women-owned businesses that are getting jobs with us. So if anyone has any questions regarding that, Sheena Fain is also on the call. But yeah, this piece just allows us to routinely bid the items that we need to keep our operations going.
Okay. Do I have any questions from any committee members, council members?
I'm Chair, I'm not sure if you
Yes.
can, Councilwoman Holland has her hand
Oh,
raised.
yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Honorable Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although we have discussed some of the efforts about working with minority and women-owned businesses as contractors with the city, I think that we've done it in a number of different conversations. And I think it might be helpful for members of the public who are watching and maybe for the committee as well, if we could have a summary of exactly what the current efforts are. And I don't expect a lot of detail, but Ms. Goodrich, either you or Ms. Fain could maybe give us a snapshot of exactly what the scope and nature is of the effort to enlist a greater number of minority and women-owned business entities.
Sure. And I'll pass it over to Sheena because this is really her wheelhouse. And she can kind of briefly touch on what all she is currently working on and some of the success that she's had since she started with the city last March.
Super,
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah, so absolutely. So part of our strategy with our supplier diversity
is really to get out into the community and to network and to provide outreach and also provide technical assistance to some of our minority firms. In the report that I sent over to you, our end of year report, we awarded approximately $2.5 million worth of contracts to minority companies. With that, we held several outreach events where we partnered with private sector companies as well as Voris and Grow with Google and also Apple Growth Partners. And so another thing that we've done last year is that we work with the bonding requirements. And so now we are able to award opportunities more flexible.
And when you say more flexible, are you talking about reducing or eliminating bonding requirements?
Yeah, so
requirements.
Yeah, so I brought a piece to this council in the fall, and that piece was to allow us more flexibility based on the project to evaluate where we should set, or if we should set a performance bond or a bid bond on the projects. So, Sheena, I know, has been working closely with purchasing and with engineering, because that has been what we've heard is a large impediment, and it's a very expensive cost to our contractors to be able to compete on some of our jobs. So if it's a job that we feel comfortable to assume some risk, and if it's just not going to work out, we can part ways with the contractor, but we don't need to require that onerous performance bond. So that is definitely something that we've been evaluating and have really, taken on in regards to, it is cost prohibitive, to these minority and women owned and smaller businesses just to provide the bonding.
Thank you. Makes a big difference to a startup enterprise. Thanks for your answers.
Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. That was my question exactly, but I do have a follow-up. I've attended some of your webinars where you've connected business on. I'm talking to Ms. Fain now, where they have offered them some money management tools and some opportunities for them to partner with. I forget, is the company called Voris? I forget the name of the company, Ms. Fain.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm curious, do you know how many of the companies have taken advantage of some of these resources? Because I found them to be helpful just listening to what they were offering them.
Yes, so with Apple Growth Partners, I believe one person took advantage of the opportunity with them. And then with Voris, I believe there was one company that actually took advantage of working with them, and they're still in the process.
Okay. I think it'd be helpful too if you continually remind people of these resources and tools, because if we're going to try to break our necks to extend business to the companies, we certainly expect them to utilize these tools that folks are saying if they're free or at a reduced cost to help them manage their books and all of those kinds of things. And I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any council members? Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Fain, thanks for what you shared. And this may have been in your report, I may have missed it. But the 2.5, is there a breakdown on who received what?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
You
Oh, yeah.
You did
Oh, no, I didn't
that?
send that. If you would like to see who was awarded what departments, from IT to engineering to housing to water to public works.
Yeah, if we can see that, please. And then I know at one time in one of the mayor's addresses, he said 5%. It was probably in your report. If we can know what that procurement is up to now, total. And then I shared this. One of the other challenges, and I'm sure you've heard this. I know this information has been shared with the Akron Chamber and Mr. DeJeanette. one of the challenges when small businesses, and I found this out not just to be small businesses, but businesses, period, that do business with the city, is the length of time it takes for them to be compensated for their work. You've heard that as well? Okay, okay. Because that's challenging. They get the contract from us, and then we take 6 months to pay them.
Absolutely. So that's something that this year that I'd like to work with is to just understand what the process is. And hopefully with Workday, some of those issues can be resolved. But I do make sure that when they are awarded a contract, that we do have a conversation, that they include me in their correspondence, so that I can make sure I can do the follow-up for them or some of the legwork for them if they're not being paid in a timely fashion.
But Councilman Neal, like I told you in email, if the department does not enter the invoice, which some of that has been the department's not entering the invoice, finance cannot cut the payment. So, that's where it's like, if you have a complaint, or any of you council people, if you have a complaint about somebody getting paid timely, please reach out to me. If it's a minority or woman-owned business, you can reach out to Sheena. But we can only process what is in our financial system. And a lot of times, the departments aren't realizing that there's a small business that's waiting for this payment and that it affects their finances. And so we just need to be able to communicate that better with the departments, which we've tried to do, but it's still a struggle because everyone's doing 10 jobs and we have a lot on our plates. So
no, Ms. Goodrich, I understand that, and this is not an indictment against the finance department. It's about, when we had this conversation about reimagining, it's about reimagining governing, understanding how our collective process impacts our business community. And
absolutely.
So,
and we need
I'm glad that Ms. Fain is aware of the situation, because it's real. For a small business, that kind of delay can almost sink them.
Well, and that's why we now have a line of the businesses can also access the Western Reserve minority contract capital line of credit. So we have some small businesses. I know B&G Masonry was one of them, and Burra Housing, that they can actually pull on that line of credit from the Western Reserve and utilize that until such time. And then the city actually pays back Western Reserve for the line of credit. So that is another innovative program that we've created with the county, because it's not only us, but if they're doing any kind of government work, just the amount of time it takes to get paid, we understand that can affect their finances. So they can draw on that line of credit.
Do you have anything else, Councilman Neal?
No, I mean, that's good to know. I would like to ask, and again, this is probably something that's already being done, if we could kind of do an audit on those that have been successful with winning contracts with the city, so that we can kind of like replicate those best practices with others who are trying to get business with the city.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Shelley, in regards to the legislation, what's your pleasure?
Consent.
Consent. Can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next ordinance, authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into an agreement or agreements without the formality of advertising for bids for the purchase of miscellaneous supplies, services, repair parts, and labor for machinery and equipment used by various divisions and departments of the city for a period of 1 year, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman, Chairwoman Mosley, and members of the committee. The next piece before you is the annual no bid ordinance. This ordinance contains services, parts, and supplies that we have identified as sole source due to the product design or the diverse nature of the equipment. The replacement parts or parts must be purchased from a sole source vendor, or there are other areas on here whereby competitive bidding would be extremely difficult due to the urgency to get the item back in service. For example, you'll see on here, there's the fire department has listed certain vendors that they utilize when a fire truck goes down, that they need to quickly repair that fire truck. In that case, it would be very onerous and burdensome to the fire department for us to have to get three competitive sealed bids or quotes, and it would result in that vehicle being down from service for quite some time. So these are all areas that we've identified that there's an urgency to get the item. It's a sole source item, or it's something that would be extremely difficult for us to bid. So when I started with the city, the no bid ordinance was over $20 million a year. We have drastically reduced it and will continue to reduce the items contained on this list. For example, this year we removed tires, which is an item with working with Luba. We has historically been on the no bid ordinance, but it's going to be an item that we either use state contract pricing for tires or we're going to bid it ourselves. So I've reduced this list as much as I can, and we're going to continue to look for items that we can remove from it, because the more we bid things, the more inclusion and diversity we can have, in our spend. So.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? I don't know whose hand was up first, so I'm going to do ladies before gentlemen. Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question in the first section about fire apparatus, ambulance, and other fire department vehicle service repairs and parts. I see a national supplier, or I guess probably more a service provider, Conrad's, and wonder if somebody can tell me what exactly Conrad's provides that no one else can provide.
This is this is all the vendors that we could potentially use to fix our fire department vehicles. I can tell you that the fire department would always try to use a local vendor before using a national vendor, but ultimately sometimes it comes down to who has what parts in stock, and how quickly we can get the parts. You'll see a lot of times, and I actually went out and shadowed in motor equipment, that they're calling around to different, like motor equipment servicers, Napa, Conrad's, Fallsway. They're trying to get the parts as quickly as possible to get the vehicle back in service. So I just think that would be an option for them, that if they could not procure a part quickly from a local vendor, that they would be able to contact Conrad's and see, if they had a part in stock that they needed. We're also seeing with supply chain issues, it's been difficult sometimes getting our hands on the parts that we need. So I think that that's something that they also took into consideration, was that, they tend to try to use local businesses, but with the supply chain constraints that we're facing currently, they may need to call around to more different vendors to try to get the parts that they need to get the vehicle fixed. And a lot of times these are urgent situations, obviously, where we need to get a vehicle back on the road and fixed very quickly.
Absolutely, Ms. Goodrich, I understand, and I appreciate that answer. And I think when it comes to sole sourcing parts, few among us would argue with that, nor with the urgency of parts for emergency vehicles. I guess my concern is that to the extent Conrad's is used for vehicle service or repairs, this looks like a prime category for considering some of our smaller businesses and startup enterprises, and particularly minority and women-owned businesses. So I just wanted to raise my hand about that. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Councilman Malik.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Goodrich. A little bit of a similar question to Councilwoman Holland. I know we've talked about this in the past, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into refining this ordinance and reducing the amount of unbid funds. But just to kind of put a fine point on it, we've talked in the past about the potential for development of a policy that would kind of really help us categorize what can and cannot be bid. Is such a policy going to be developed?
It is. We've had a lot of transition over the last year, continued transition. As you know, Sean Bullman was helping me run the purchasing division, and then he got promoted in the summer. We actually hired another purchasing agent that did not work out, and Luba just started with us in October. I can tell you that, again, that's something that we were striving to develop, and it's something that we need to develop to go along with ARPA as well, in kind of the federal procurement guidelines that are going to guide us with ARPA. We need a holistic procurement manual. But I need Luba to get in and get comfortable and learn the city and how we do procurement before I can really task her with drafting that. So, I mean, I would say within the next 6 months is where we're targeting. But, my goal is to always have as much stuff be bid as possible, because that's good governmental procurement. I recognize, though, that there's some items on here that we just, if we were to bid, it doesn't make sense because we already have the product in our plan, or like for the trash carts, we use toter carts, and if we want to replace the wheels and the lids to the carts, we need the matching parts that are made by toter. So there's some area where things are just going to be sole source. But yes, I mean, that's something that I'm still striving for, and to really implement best practices in the purchasing division.
I really appreciate that update, and definitely look forward to that, and also welcome, Ms. Kramer. Really excited to have you on board. Just a follow-up question to that, Ms. Goodrich. Neither of us are any longer in the city law department, so maybe this is a better question for the law department. But what this has me asking is, what are the actual legal authorities here? What is the city permitted to, under what circumstances is the city permitted to purchase goods and services above a certain threshold without bidding?
Well, I can
So
try to
I'm
speak.
going to take, Rebecca, I was going to just ask Councilman Malik, if you could put that in writing so that we can get that response to you back in writing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Rose.
Thank you.
Take care.
Madam Chair, you're muted.
I am. Any other questions from council or committee members? Seeing none. Shelley, what's your pleasure?
Consent.
Okay, can I get a motion for consent?
For consent.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our last piece is ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of Arlington Street between the termini of Erickson Avenue and Munson Street for resurfacing and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is our notice to proceed with this project. We brought you this project previously. We did not have any objections. We set out the assessment notices, so there was no hearing that needed to be held. So with that, we are ready to proceed with the project. So this authorizes us to go ahead and bid this project award, and it will be done first part of 2022. 3.5 miles of Arlington Street starts on North Arlington, down to Munson, just a little bit south of the junkyards, and goes all the way out to Erickson, which is by Arlington Plaza.
Mm-hmm. Right. What's your pleasure, Mr. Leto?
Consent's fine.
Okay. Any questions from committee members first? Any questions from council? All righty. Can I get a motion for consent?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. We have nothing else coming before us, so we are adjourned.
Thank you.
We can move right into the Public Safety Committee meeting. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to call the public safety meeting to order, please. All members are present, and our last meeting was on December 13th, 2021. I'd like to get approval of those minutes, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving forward, we do have one piece in front of us. It's a resolution 2022 approving and confirming the reappointment of Council President Margot Somerville, Council Representative Brad McKittrick, John Frank, Terry Albanese, Marilyn Keith, and Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Charles Brown to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board for a term ending December 31st, 2022, and declare an emergency. I'm not sure if we have anybody with us to speak about this.
Hello, Councilman Kamer. This is Tamika Rose in the mayor's office. How are you? And Happy New
Hello,
Year.
Rose. Yeah, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So these are just general reappointments to the EMS board, and we will be coming back at the end of this year to do another 2-year appointment and reappointment. We missed the last time due to COVID, and so these are just cleaning up and making sure that they can have a new term this year.
All right, thank you. Sounds good.
You're welcome.
Any questions from committee members? Council members? All right, with that, can I get a motion to hopefully suspend the rules?
Okay, thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you, Phil. Can I get a second? I'll second that. I'll second that motion. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thanks. We'll pass that this evening. And that is all I have for public safety. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Health and Social Services Committee. That'll get started here in just a few minutes at 2:30. Those committee members are Amobian, Freeman, Baylor, Neal, and Holland. Again, it's about 2:27 now, so we have just a few minutes and we will start the Health and Social Services Committee at 2:30. Okay, it is 2:30, so we can begin the Health and Social Services Committee. I'll give committee members a moment to come back to video. Those committee members again are Mobian, Freeman, Baylor, Neal, and Holland. Madam Chair, I did get a notification from Councilman Freeman that he had an appointment. He was most likely not going to be making it on time today.
Okay. So all the other members are present.
Correct.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second? I can hear something faint. Can you hear?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any opposed? All in favor, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Any opposed? The minutes are approved as written. The one piece that we have, I don't think we have anything on the previous agenda. Is that correct, Sarah?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we have one piece before us. It's a resolution approving and confirming the reappointments of Harvey Stearns and Susan Sigmund to the Commission on Aging, approving and confirming the appointment of Shirley Finney to the Commission on Aging, and declaring an emergency. Are any of the members on Zoom, Sarah? Any of these
Hello,
appointees?
Councilwoman Mobian. This is Tamika Rosa, Mayor Horgan's office. Hello and Happy New Year. These are reappointments to the Commission on Aging, and then we are confirming the appointment for Shirley Finney. And these were done by our staff member Ellen Nish before she left, and so these are was just cleaning up all of the board appointments before she left. So
okay, well, thank you very much. I'm very glad that Dr. Stearns and Susan are still available to do this. I know Susan recently retired from Direction Home, but I've attended some of the meetings and I was glad that they were able to change the day from Monday to Wednesday. So that's worked out well. So I attend many of their meetings. So thank you very much for that. Are there any questions from any of the committee members? Can you see any hands raised, Sarah?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Anyway, for that, thank you, Mrs. Rose. May I have a motion to accept these appointments? And I'm assuming they need them passed today, or do we need to put on a consent agenda? Is there a recommendation, Mrs. Rose?
if you could suspend the rules, that would be helpful. If not, consent is okay as well.
Okay. I would like to have a motion for either, whoever would like to make a motion. A favorable
Motion to
report.
suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, the motion will carry. So we will be making a favorable motion with suspension of the rules tonight at the meeting tonight. So thank you very much for that. Is there anything else to come before the committee? Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Our next committee for the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. That will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and that will begin at 3 o'clock. So we will end our live stream and be back at 3. Thank you.
Thank you.